All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 edition of the Fresno State Fall 2025 Bachelor's of Science in Nursing Application Workshop. As mentioned previously, I'm going to try to spend about 10-15 minutes going through the application itself, hitting the three most common points we really need. And then after that, I'll stop the recording and open it up to questions in case anybody has any more specific stuff. But the general gist of this is that there's no really need to worry about the NursingCAS application as long as it's done within the time frame and you do kind of the more important parts, being the transcripts. You should be fine. So feel free to use the chat as we go along. If I miss something or you want additional clarification, I went too fast or something, feel free to send things in there. Uh, and here we go. So again, this is currently focused on the fall 2025 application. So we're applying now in February of 2025. The application will be open from February 1st, which was this weekend, to February 28th at 11:59 p.m. Central Time, which means it's 8:59 p.m. here. So nobody here is obviously going to procrastinate, but make sure that you are not waiting till the last minute because it is Eastern Time. But the application itself, now that you've finished all of your prerequisites, is going to be through NursingCAS. And so remember, the only people that should be applying right now with the workshop or through NursingCAS should be people who have finished all of their prerequisites, specifically English, critical thinking, statistics, chemistry, micro, and anatomy and physio. If you're still in progress, you'll be applying in the spring or later. So the first step is to go to nursingcas.org. NursingCAS is the program that does the admissions application. We're not affiliated with them, but they let us use their software in exchange for all the fees. So if you don't have a NursingCAS account already, everything just went dark really quick. Make sure you create one. It's important to know that your username or the email that you set up is going to be where they send the emails. So if you use for example, a Gmail account that you don't often check, make sure that you're checking it at least throughout the cycle, or just use your Fresno State account or one you check most often. Another good thing, just as a general life tip, is use Password Manager. They're great. And so if you recently applied to Fresno State or you remember your Cal State Apply application, you'll notice that this is the same software. And so this is the first important thing about the application for NursingCAS. You do have to at least complete it because NursingCAS needs to mark you as complete to be eligible. Now, we're not going to care about most of this stuff, but if NursingCAS finds an issue, like you screw around and put your name as something funny, they might mark you as undelivered, which means that they'll need you to fix something. And if you miss the email, then your application wouldn't be complete and you wouldn't be good. So make sure you do take this seriously, but also don't worry. We're not going to verify your finance or what size town you went to. So if you're new to NursingCAS, it should prompt you to search for programs first. And now that the system is open, we're now going to have the Bachelor's of Science for fall 2025. You can select multiple programs, but keep in mind that the fees are going to be available for both of those too. So, don't know what happened there, but we're going to double check to make sure Fresno is good. We did fix it as well too, so now you can just look for Fresno and then add the program, and that'll alter the fourth quadrant here into the program materials. So as mentioned, the first section, personal information, this stuff, do it accurately, but don't stress too much. So for example, NursingCAS might find an issue with mine because my legal first name is not Chris. So that'd be something I'd want to fix. Otherwise, I might risk being undelivered. But most of this is going to be mostly for NursingCAS's demographic purposes and occasionally ours. So other important stuff like the contact information is important. This is information we don't really look at this, but obviously, it's good to go through these. You don't need to add or anything that's typically optional, family information or later exams or certifications, you don't need. And like I mentioned, as you go down, most of this is going to be optional, including most critically the social security number. You don't need to input that if you need or now. Nursing will ask for that later, but that's if you're admitted to the program. Another important thing too is that if you were a veteran, do make sure that you mark that accurately because that helps us tag it when we are going through the program. So as mentioned, first section, just make sure you take it seriously. Do fill everything out, especially the ones that are starred, because you have to be able to finish the application to apply. And that's going to be relevant in this next section, which is the academic history. So part one was, again, you have to have a complete application. Part number two is that we need accurate colleges and transcripts for each college you've attended, even if it's not a prerequisite. So for high schools attended, I believe you have to put something in there, but we don't need your transcripts. We don't need your high school diploma. Just make sure it's accurate. The colleges attended section, this is where it's very important because this is going to be where you upload your transcripts. And again, it needs to be every college you've ever attended because we need to be able to calculate the cumulative GPA. I'll show you what it looks like in a second on our end. But to evaluate your application, one of the two things we need are accurate, legible, updated transcripts. These don't have to be official. If you send them to NursingCAS through an official program like Parchment or something like that, we don't get them until later. So what we really need is a PDF copy. And so this can be pulled off your portal. It can even be a screenshot if you need it to be, if everything fits. But again, it needs to be legible because we need to be able to print it. So if it's something huge or it's really messy or it's crinkled, some of the advisors may ask for a better copy of it. And so in this case, if I attended California State University, Fresno, Fresno State, Fresno City College, and Palomar College, I would need to upload transcripts for all four of these. Even if at Fresno City College, for example, I only took a medical terminology class. If we don't have transcripts for all of these, we'll consider you incomplete and we'll ask for them. Make sure the dates aren't, or the effective dates aren't super important. Again, that's something that more NursingCAS might scrutinize more. But what we really need is the uploading of the transcripts for each of these. Common question that comes up is, what if I attended Fresno City and then took a class at Clovis because they're all merged into the State Center Community College District? It's up to you. Some students will only put the transcript once. To be safe, you could put the transcript twice. We'll be able to tell and filter it out if you want, if you went to West Hills Coalinga and West Hills Lemoore, unless, for example, there's separate transcripts like American River College, for example. So how do you get your transcript? Well, for Fresno State, it's pretty easy. You go to your student portal, hit my transcript, and you would just download this. Like I said, doesn't need to be official. You just have to make sure it's legible. But one thing to keep in mind with the Fresno State transcript is that for some reason, when you just save it as a PDF, it doesn't like to work, probably because of some sort of encryption or something on the front end. So to filter that out, it's easiest to print and then print to a PDF. So then you can go here. You can save it into your downloads, FS transcript. And then we do the same thing with my city college transcript. Again, this is going to be common across all 5 campuses, but you can upload the same one multiple times. And so, can't see it, but I now also have my Fresno City College transcript. And so I would just upload that. I went and enrolled into a Fresno City College class just for you all. So then back in NursingCAS, I'm going to go ahead and upload the document. I don't mention this earlier, but with the Fresno State transcript, it'll tell you like it's too small or something. So if you get that error, just make sure to print. But then you can review the transcript, and there we go. And you just do it for every campus. Again, even if it wasn't a campus where you took a prereq, we need all the classes you've ever taken. And if we see on your transcript that you attended another class or another campus and didn't upload it, we'll mark you incomplete and ask for that as well. If you leave it blank, then we'll also consider you incomplete and we'll ask for those transcripts, and we won't evaluate your application until it's sent. So on the other end, then, this is what NursingCAS looks on our end. So you would see and be able to access the transcripts. But in this case, because I'm pending, I don't have those transcripts uploaded, I would be marked incomplete, and the advisor evaluating my application would send an email saying, hi, I need transcripts from Fresno City College, Palomar, and Saracoso. I'd also, since I'm not complete with the application, I also wouldn't be eligible, but that's a given. Everything else we don't really look at. We can see it, but again, we don't really look at it. So again, upload every school you've been to. Doesn't need to be official. We don't mind officials, but they do have to be PDFs. So if you got a PDF copy at some point, that's fine. And then make sure they're updated too. Don't use an old one. Make sure we have the newest classes. And don't try to hide stuff from us. We're pretty good at finding it. The second component of this is the transcript entry. And here's the second big part of this. You don't need to put every single class you've ever taken. You have to do that for grad school. But in this section, you only take the prerequisite classes. So there should only be 8, maybe a little more if you have labs that are separate. So remember what I mentioned earlier, for example, if I took medical terminology at City and that was it, I don't really need to put anything for City. But if I took the majority of my prerequisites at Fresno State, then I would actually accurately put this out by the semester I took them. It's not super critical if this is accurate. Like I said, we don't really look at this. It's just, again, you want it to be for NursingCAS. But one common question we get a lot is like, oh, I took AP stats in fall 2013, for example. You don't need to focus that much on that. That's fine. Because NursingCAS won't let you put a date before when you started attending. So that's fine just to put it in the first semester. And so you'll see that these are all just the prerequisites. The title doesn't really matter as much. The subject doesn't really matter as much. Even the grades don't really matter. For AP classes, you can put a credit or 0 units. But again, if you mess it up, we're going to catch it because we do a hand evaluation. And then I would do this for each campus. So if I took if I took 6 of my classes at Syracuse or at Fresno State, but then I took anatomy at Los Angeles Harbor College and took physio at Fresno City College, I'd make sure to put those accurately. And you always want to put the course title it was at the school. So you wouldn't put Bio 20 here, which is Fresno State's course. So this, again, doesn't need to be super accurate, but it does need to be done because later in the application, there's going to be a section where we use these courses to effectively fill in the prerequisites. And you can't finish your application until you've actually done this. So you have to have something in there. Finally, for standardized tests, there is a section where you can do the T's, for example, but this is not where you put it. So you don't have to technically put anything in here. Same thing with AP courses. Same thing with AP courses. They'll have a section later where you can upload documents, so you don't have to waste your time with this. So you would just say that you don't want to add any tests. Got a question really quick. Here you're using medical terminology class as an example a lot. Is that recommended? So I'm just using that as something that I see a lot of students come in with, but there's no recommendation. The only 8 required courses would just be the 8 prerequisites. And then remember, the way that we evaluate is all based on prerequisite GPA. So we're going to look exclusively at the GPA in those 8 classes using your overall GPA as a tiebreaker, which is why you need those every transcript so we can calculate your total GPA. But no, medical terminology is not needed. You could sub in that women's studies course I took or an art class. You don't need to waste your time putting that in there. Now, that's a good point, though, is that if you do put all your classes in here, we're not going to hold it against you. It's just you might have wasted 30 minutes. You're welcome. So supporting information, we don't look at this. So we don't need any of this. Again, going back to the previous question, this is not something that's going to help you for our application. So we don't really need any of this. This does bring up an interesting point, though, which is if you're applying to multiple schools, they might need this. Now, I do know that most programs have already admitted for fall, but if there's something else that's applying it, or you want to apply to a different CSU or a different campus, you could put these in here. They might be used. And so reviewing so far, well, what do we need? We need an accurate application. We need all those unofficial transcripts uploaded, accessible, and legible. And then, yes, for academic history, you only put the prerequisites in there, or you only have to put the prerequisites in there. You can put more if you want, but you'll see why that is in a second. Because the program materials section, and this should be accurate now that I've selected the right one, this is where you upload the rest of your documents. We've uploaded the transcripts, but this is where we upload the T's and the AP scores if necessary. And then if a lab was combined, which is the case in most things, you only put one class. And you'll see that here with the prerequisite section. So hold that question for a second. So this is just all the general information. The user guide's available here. I think I might have mentioned this, but this is our application. It can be found on the ACDC website. So if you go here to program admissions, you'll find all of the links. Let me click on it one more time. Oops. So under program admissions, we're cleaning this up, by the way, so it shouldn't be as ugly soon. But in the supplemental application information, you'll find the NursingCAS guide and the individual performance profile. I'm also sending them in the chat really quickly. So that's the application guide. And here's how you get the individual performance profile for the T's. You can also get to NursingCAS here as well too, but it's easier just to Google. So here's our deadline. Here's all the accurate information. All of this should be pretty familiar. And the bare minimum. So the questions, again, it's good to make sure that you fill these in. It's very helpful for us if you fill your ID number in. It makes me very happy. And then, again, the question, are you a veteran? Are you part of ROTC? That's important to put in there because it's just easier for us to mark that. Otherwise, we have to make sure we check it on the transcript. So area number 3 that needs to be done is the document section. And the only mandatory one here is the test score report. So this would be where you upload the T's, and we specifically need the T's individual performance profile, which is found by going to the ATI website, going to my results, clicking on the exam, and then selecting download report. And it should look like this. The reason is because it has the attempts. Yes, I know that the other one has the attempts too, but them's the rules. I don't make them. But you just need to be able to upload this as well too. Now, a question that comes up a lot is ATI will let you send your scores to Fresno State for free or ask you where you want to send them. You can do that. We have no idea who gets them. So you need to make sure it's uploaded in the document. If you're a military veteran and you have a DD-214, this is where you can upload it as well. Active military, typically you just let us know as well, and we'll work with you on that. And then this is the section where if you have AP credit, you'll pull it off the College Board website. If it's shown clearly on the transcript, then you typically don't have to worry about this. But we need to make sure that we can. So for example, on the Fresno State transcript, you can see here that all my AP was listed. This would typically be fine. But if it's not clearly listed, we prefer that you upload your AP credit. There's a lot of cases, for example, where we'll sometimes have to dig into the courses you took, or see that you marked AP, and then we'll ask you for it. So this would be the third reason why we'd mark your application incomplete. The 3 reasons, again, just to kind of summarize that we mark your application as incomplete is you didn't upload all your transcripts for every school. If you put the wrong T's, so not the individual performance profile, but a different version of it. And then if you have AP credit but didn't send a proof of it, because we have to be able to mark that off as well too. Some students will also upload their transcripts again in here. That's fine. It's just, so if you're really worried, you can do that too. But I mean, you don't need to, and preferably we prefer you didn't. And so, again, all we're going to look at is going to be the GPA for prerequisites. The only exception we have is for the military transcripts. Military students or veteran students get priority applications. Let's see. Nothing else we really look at. And like I said, if you get all those accurately and you did everything else correctly, so that NursingCAS marks you as either complete, received, or verified, you should be fine. In the case where you do miss something, we'll let you know. We'll change your status in here to either incomplete or missing or something like that. And that'll send you an email saying, hey, please send us this. So in here, if I didn't upload the T's, I would know. And then another thing we can do too is we can actually see if you've opened the emails or not. So if you try to hit us with the whole like, oh, I never got an email, we'll know. But no need to upload any of these because we don't even look at these sections. We only look at the transcripts, the T's, and then making sure the application is complete. Part of making that application complete is this last prerequisite section. Again, we don't expect you to put everything in here accurately. Honestly, we don't even look at it again, except if we're like wondering what you thought cleared a prerequisite. But this does need to be filled in for NursingCAS to let you complete your application. For example, I can't hit submit application until this section is filled. And so what you need to do is you take those courses from the transcript entry and you just plug them in. It's a lot of fun. So that's why it's important to do that section accurately, because you need to have these, well, because you're only using the prerequisites, that's why you only need those 8 courses. Now, going back to that earlier question, what if we took a separate lab class? Back in the day, NursingCAS used to let you only use these classes once. So you used to have to make like a dummy lab class. So for example, here I put Chem 3A and put the Chem Lab as a separate course. That's what, like I said, that's what we used to do back in the day. But now NursingCAS is really nice and they let you use the same class twice. Or that you could put that you're not matching any courses to the prerequisite. So you can either put, where did I take anatomy phase? That's actually a long reticulation. So you could put anatomy phys in here, and then you can use the same course again if you want, or you can mark that you're not matching. Either one should be fine. I usually recommend just filling it with the same course, but if you took a class that was combined, which is usually the case, so you took anatomy with a lab and it's just one course, that's the easiest way to do it. Again, we're not going to scrutinize this too much. You just need to have something in each box, or at least opt out. So if you leave the labs blank, the application is not going to let you submit. And if you can't submit, well, then you're not eligible to apply because you won't have a complete application. So at the end of the application, obviously, I'm not going to do it here because I didn't do any of this in real life. By the end of it, we'll end up seeing in this section, your status will be either verified, received, or complete. They're all functionally the same thing. If there's a problem on NursingCAS's end, it'll be considered undelivered, which they'll just tell you to fix it. So you want to do that early and keep an eye out for their emails. And then if we have a problem with it, we'll hit you with a link, and then it'll send, for example, you'll get our email saying, hey, please submit these by this date, and here's what you need. So the application itself is not too bad. Don't stress too much about it. If you mess something up, we'll ask you to fix it. The only thing you just want to do is obviously do it early, because the earlier we evaluate, the more time you have to see if you need to fix something. But also, be checking your emails as usual. That's the really important part. And at this point, it is what it is. You've taken the classes, everything needs to be complete again, unless you're an ROTC student. And so it is what it is. As for timeline, so we get all of these, we hand print out the transcripts and hand evaluate them. We do a second evaluation as well too, and we need to have everything to admissions by usually the second or third week of March. So we start evaluating as soon as we get them. About once a week, I run a batch to start evaluating that week's applications. So anybody who submitted this weekend is already going to get evaluated this week. You all will probably get evaluated next week, which is totally fine. And then brain just turned off. Wow. And then after that, we finish everything so we can't finish evaluating until after the application closes in February, but we can let you know if you're incomplete or not. And then we do a second evaluation, usually the second week of March. Then we send it to admissions to verify all the non-continuing students, so all our transferring students. Fresno State students are obviously already admitted, so they don't have to worry about that component. But we don't send out admissions until admissions does. So for a transfer student, they have to be eligible to both the program and the university. And if you are to both, then we send you admittance or alternate or anything. To kind of go over really quickly the different statuses. So if we make an offer, that means you are one of the 60 highest prerequisite GPAs. If there's a tie, say we had 74.0 students, then we will use cumulative GPA as a tiebreaker, meaning we'll use your overall scores. And if there's a tie there, so 4.0, 4.0s, we would use the T score. So that's the only time the T's matters. You can go in and upload the T's again, but as long as you got the 75, it usually doesn't matter. Um, so we skipped the first 60. Say that spot 60 and 61 were split between a 4.0, 4.0, and somebody had a higher T score. That second person would become the first alternate, which is the individual on the waiting list. So we would mark them as an alternate. And that means, depending on your spot, say one person withdrew or dropped the program or didn't accept their admissions, which in fall usually happens, then they would get offered admission as the first person. And we go down significantly on the fall because fall is open to everybody, Fresno State students, non-Fresno State students, and what are called second bachelor students or students who have already earned a degree. Keep in mind, this also isn't the application you want to do if you already have an RN license. I don't think that's the case for anybody here, but if anybody's listening to this in the future, good thing to remember. And then let's see. And then finally, if you aren't within the alternates or that you're just ineligible, you'll get a denied meets minimums, meaning that you met with the minimums, but you weren't one of the 60 or 50 alternates or whatever we pick. And then if you're ineligible, that means you didn't meet the requirements. And we're happy to go over that with anybody. Another important thing that's more recent is that we also have a local admission preference. This was mandated by the CSU, but what it means is that for anybody who took 50.01 or 1, depending on what it looks like, percent of their courses at local colleges, which would be like Fresno City College, Merced College, Madera, things like that, you have priority admission as well too over anybody who's not local. So everybody who's a Fresno State student continuing should be in that boat. And then from there, we send out the admissions typically last week of March, first week of April, and then chaos ensues now. Really quickly, just to kind of go over the next step, if you're a continuing student at that point, we'll change your major by registration so you can jump into the nursing courses for fall. If you're a continuing student, or a transfer student, excuse me, you go through doc days and you register there. But the nursing program is for 60 students. There's only 60 spots in each class. So the classes are guaranteed. They're all sequenced. It's much, much easier than having to fight for prerequisites. And then there's typically a boot camp the first week or the week before the first week of school that CNSA, the Nursing Student Association, puts on. And that is typically mandatory. So make sure you're not planning any vacations for August. So I got a question about the spring cohort as well too. So same thing there. Difference for the spring cohort is it's only open to Fresno State students and then the few second back students that apply. So that one's typically less competitive. The competitive GPA for fall is usually a 4.0. For spring, it's typically lower. It's been going back up a little bit, but it's historically been around a 3.5, 3.6, although it was a little lower in past years. And then once you get this all submitted, you just do that. Keep a reference, check your emails, all that fun jazz. And then, we take it from here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the recording. And then we'll go ahead and jump back into questions if there are any. But that's just the quick and easy of it. Sounds like a long way to go.